The way you get enhancements in Crusade games, and the only way you get enhancements, is different to regular 40k. There's a lot of assumptions about how enhancements work in Crusade, but very little rules checking goes on, and most people think it is basically like any other 40k game, when it is very different. I want to explain how enhancements are meant to work in the 40k rules for Crusade, even if, like a long-running and generally hated family board game, you know the one, there are so many house rules that it becomes meaningless. Or more like how 40k tournaments each have their own tournament pack that explains the terrain in which rule sets they're using and bans some units. Crusade campaigns can be like that. Each one is different. This video explains how it is in the core Crusade rules, which will give you a baseline to follow, or deviate from. You can't be a deviant if there's no standardization. So let's go over the basic non-Crusade enhancements. You can add up to 3 enhancements to different characters from the detachment that you're playing with the points listed, and then in the next game, if playing a different detachment, you can buy up to 3 of the 4 listed enhancements for that detachment. So in Battle 1, I'm playing Adeptus Sororitas in the Army of Faith. I'll have the Litanies of Faith on a Canoness, and the Blade of St. Eleanor on the Palatine. Next week, new game, new detachment, I'll have the same units, but I'm going to play the Penitent Host, for which I have a new video explaining all the tactics. The Psalm of Righteous Judgment is going on the Canoness, and the Catechism of Divine Penitence is going on the Palatine to let her join Repentia. It then works differently in Crusade games. Enhancements still cost army construction points, but they are permanent upgrades to your characters, like Battle Honors, but they are not Battle Honors. That will be important later. But they're like Battle Honors. So that Palatine upgraded with Catechism of Divine Penitence will always have that enhancement and always cost 70 points. 50 points for the Palatine, 20 points for the enhancement. I don't know if that's going to be different if you're watching in the future. But once added, this enhancement is always there. It doesn't matter if you are not playing the Penitent Host detachment, or if you are playing the Penitent Host detachment, because you can switch detachments between games within your Crusade campaign. Whatever detachment you're playing, your Palatine keeps the Catechism of Divine Penitence, meaning that you can have some pretty cool cross-detachment combos, and that Palatine can always join Repentia and give them lethal hits. So the Canoness on your Order of Battle could have the Litanies of Faith and always try to get more Miracle Dice. That's great for giving the Bringers of Flame detachment a bit more Miracle Dice support, even though the enhancement was an Army of Faith detachment enhancement. The way you add enhancements to your characters is not picking one at the start of the battle or at the start of the campaign. It is done with the Renowned Heroes Requisition. At the very start of your Crusade, you have your 1000 points Order of Battle and 5 Requisition points. You can spend one of those Requisition points to add an enhancement to one of the characters. This is any enhancement they can take from any detachment. Explicitly. Even though you have not picked a detachment because you are not making an army. So as long as it is an enhancement that character could have, you can have it. A Hospitaller could have Divine Aspect, but could not have Litanies of Faith because that is for Palatines or Canonesses models only. This does let you do a cool thing with Inquisitors and Imperial Knights as an example. They can take enhancements from their respective codex as enhancements described within any detachment rules they can use. Even though you have not generated an army, not picked a faction keyword, or chosen detachment. So the Inquisitor could have the Universal Anathema from the Ordo Xenos Alien Hunters detachment, as they are an Imperial Agent's character, and would normally be able to have access to that detachment. That is a detachment they have access to. That is an enhancement they could use, so they can have the Universal Anathema. Remember that your Order of Battle is not required to have one faction keyword. You can have loads of different faction keywords on your Order of Battle, but when you come to make an army list, you have to have one faction, with exceptions for units like the Inquisitors from Imperial Agents, and the Knights because of the Codex Knights ability. So one of those Knights could have the Vengeful Tread to tank shock their enemies for free. These enhancements will work regardless of detachment you play, but enhancements that work within one particular detachment are not going to be very useful elsewhere, so it is usually best to pick generic enhancements. Augury Halo refers to defensive line. You only have a defensive line when playing the Gate Warden Lance detachment. If you are not playing that detachment, or plan to never use that detachment, this is a waste of an upgrade. Similarly, don't give a Genestealer Cult Primus in Human Integration from Final Day unless you want to always play Final Day, because in every other detachment you can't have Tyrannid units. So there will never be Tyrannids within 6 inches. Much better to take Deeds That Speak to the Masses from the Xenocreed Congregation. A Primus can take that, and 2 more Resurgence points will be valuable in every game that Primus is included in. Remember, the enhancement does not fall off or do nothing if you play a different detachment to the one it came from. A lot of people assume it does, incorrectly. That is because there is a different limit on enhancements. In the army construction, you don't get to add the enhancements based off the detachment you picked. That would almost totally undo the whole use requisition points to add enhancements, which also increases the model's points value. So we've added 1 enhancement to the first character in our army. The next enhancement you add to your order of battle, or the first if you didn't want to start the crusade with an enhancement from renowned heroes right away, the way you add more enhancements is to level up more characters. When you level up, normally you can take a random battle trait or pick a crusade relic, but instead you can use renowned heroes to give a character an enhancement as they level up. You can select one enhancement that unit has access to. If using this requisition when the unit gains a rank, this is instead of gaining a battle honor. But you can't use this requisition on a character that already had an enhancement. You are still locked to 1 enhancement per character. As normal, you cannot select an epic hero unit, but also you cannot pick a character that has either the Disgraced or Mark of Shame battle scars. Heroes out of favor don't get to carry cool relics. But if you had the enhancement and then got the Disgraced scar, you don't have to give up the enhancement, just that a disgraced character cannot be given an enhancement. This requisition costs 1 requisition point, plus 1 additional requisition point for each other enhancement that your order of battle contains, to a maximum of 3 requisition points. Not a maximum of 3 enhancements. So to use it the first time, it costs 1 requisition point. The second time, it will cost 2 requisition points, 1 point to use it and 1 point because you already have 1 enhancement on the order of battle. The third enhancement will cost 3 requisition points, 1 for using it, 1 for the first enhancement already there, 1 for the second enhancement already there. It will still cost 3 requisition points for the 4th enhancement and 3 requisition points for the 5th enhancement. In regular, let's call it match play 40k, you can only have 3 enhancements. After that, the bar staff equivalent look at you and say, "We're cutting you off. Your enhancement addiction has gone too far." So you can never take more than 3 enhancements in a battle. That is the limit. Crusade is different. Crusade is more supply and demand. 1 enhancement, sure, that costs 1 requisition points and some army construction points. A second, that is more demand, they now cost 2 requisition points until the market levels out at 3 requisition points. So can you have 4 or 5 enhancements in your order of battle? Yes, you can. Can you have the same enhancement appear twice, either in an army or on an order of battle? Surprisingly, yes. Each enhancement included in your army must be unique is the core rules step 5 for selecting units. That line doesn't appear in step 5 of mustering a crusade army or any other step in mustering a crusade army. That is not a limit that is placed on you. And unlike crusade relics that state you can't have more than 1 relic more than once on your order of battle, there is no mention of not being able to take the same enhancement twice in the requisition. So you can have the same enhancement on several different characters within your order of battle list of available units, and you can have the same enhancement more than once in your army. That is a lot of units that have +2 to their charge rolls, with all of our time is nigh. It's really, really nigh. So you can do this, but probably shouldn't. It feels like a rules oversight. And so most Crusade campaigns run with, no, you can have 3 enhancements on your order of battle, or you can't have more than 3 enhancements in any one game, or you can't have the same enhancement twice, either in a game or order of battle. However you want to run your campaign. But in the rules, there's nothing to stop you having the same enhancement twice or having the same enhancement twice in a game. If you can find a rule that stops this, let me know in the comments. So far upon asking people, a lot of them have quoted step 5 of the core rules for army construction, but that is overridden by all the Crusade campaign books and the Crusade base rules with its own version of step-by-step to get your army onto the table. Right, so you added an enhancement to a character, your points have gone up. Does the Palatine's Crusade points cost go up when the character gains an enhancement? No. These are not battle honors. You get them instead of a battle honor, like a battle trait or a Crusade relic. Battle honors, like Crusade relics and battle traits, state that you increase your Crusade points by an amount, usually by 1. Some Crusade relics increase it by more. Crusade points are a way to balance out the armies with their extra abilities, but with enhancements, you do not increase your Crusade points because you are paying in army construction points and requisition points, not Crusade points that determine the Crusade value of a unit. But understandably, most people see it as a permanent upgrade you get upon leveling up and assume it increases your unit's Crusade points, but it doesn't. They are not battle honors, so they also don't count towards the max 6 trait upgrade your character can have because they're not battle honors. You purchase them instead of getting a battle honor. Another aspect of not being a battle honor, you can't lose enhancements. If you roll a 1 on a dead unit after the battle and fail the out of action test, you cannot lose the enhancement as part of a devastating blow. You can only choose to lose a battle honor, and what are enhancements not? So devastating blows won't remove your enhancements. You also can't choose to lose the enhancement. In the main Crusade rules, you can't choose to not have a certain upgrade anymore. Even though, I want to drop this, can I drop this, please let me drop this, is a common house rule allowance for the campaign. Otherwise, the only official way to remove an enhancement is to remove the character from your order of battle and add a new one without the enhancement. But this new, suspiciously similar looking character would have also lost any battle traits or scars. And they can't gain a new enhancement until they level up. So we know that enhancements are not battle honors, but can they stack with battle traits? If the enhancement replaces a weapon, that Crusade relic or weapon upgrade would be lost, but very few of the enhancements replace weapons in 10th edition. The Blade of St. Eleanor sounds like it does, but it just gives you a stat increase. Same as Through Suffering Strength, the enhancement formerly known as St. Eleanor's Blade, if you go back to the index, because that's what it was called in the index. Same thing, Hallowed Martyrs, but it's got a new name now and the St. Eleanor's name went to the Army of Faith. Why would one stat improvement be allowed but another similar one would not? Most things that are explicitly not stackable with battle trait upgrades are Crusade relics, like this one from Crusade Armageddon. The Weapon of Renown is stated to be a Crusade relic. Other relics and battle traits don't have that, so you can stack the Patriarch's Vector Talon and the Biosanctic Brood Surge Enhancement Biomorph Adaptation to have AP-4, damage 4 melee attacks on your Patriarch. And so you could also upgrade the Patriarch's Claws with a weapon modification. Does that sound unbalanced, or does that sound fun? Some people don't like this way of adding enhancements. It stops you taking some enhancements just to round out the points. 5 points spare, sure, I will have the Gene Sire's Reliquant. Nope, not in Crusade. So some player groups ignore the rules to do what they find fun and play it like normal 40k and add the enhancements you want from the detachments you are playing. Especially if you're doing a Crusade to do a tour of the Codex and try out all the detachments to find out what is on offer. Especially when the Tyranids can play a very thematic continuation through the detachments as they infiltrate, invade, and then consume. Other people play only one detachment through their Crusade campaign and are happy to only take enhancements from that detachment. It saves on confusion if you also play other types of 40k, like using the mission decks. And I don't mean using the Pariah Nexus Crusade-compatible rules mission deck. If you are starting a Crusade, you will want a Crusade book for missions and Crusade rules. I really like the Pariah Nexus as a base, but the Nakmud Gauntlet and Armageddon also offer their own unique spin on the format. My darlings and viewers, have a great day of 40k.